How did a coloring book artist manage to make $50,000 in just 2 days with her YouTube channel? And what are her 6 pieces of advice for you as a creator when it comes to selling products? I was at VidCon this year where, to my surprise, an Australian creator named Sarah Renae Clark brought me a jar of Vegemite and other Australian snacks. And while my kids ate all the Tim Tams, I kept the Vegemite because I wanted to open it for the first time ever on camera, which I'll do at the end of this video.
Cheap retention trick, bro. You're not fooling anybody.
So at VidCon, Sarah also showed me her weird new product that she was about to start selling. This colored cube box thing. And a couple weeks later, after I flew home, she launched the product to her audience and it blew the doors off in sales with over 1,200 cubes sold and $50,000 in revenue in just 2 days. And so I thought, okay, maybe I should take a look at what Sarah does on YouTube. First, her channel is for people who like to color. She takes simple coloring pages and turns them into these amazing works of art. But key to this process is picking the right color combinations. And that's where her various products come in. But before we talk to Sarah, let's just open up the Vegemite here. Oh, it looks like chocolate. Like hot fudge or something. Oh. We'll get back to that. Sarah, thank you so much for joining.
Hey, Matt.
Let's jump in. What are your 6 tips here?
The first is to know your audience and listen to what they need and want. I started making coloring books, but I noticed that most of my visited blog posts on my website were actually about choosing colors. So I created a digital product that met that need, and it sold over 20,000 copies over the course of 4 years. So it was clearly something that my audience wanted.
Yep.
The biggest comment I had over those years was that my audience wanted something physical. They actually wanted to hold the colors in their hands. And so that's how I knew that the color cube would be a winning product even before we pitched the idea to our audience.
Is this where it helps to be in a niche as a creator versus being like a broad entertainer?
It does help because if you're in a niche, you can definitely get to know your audience a lot more, and you will be able to identify what those needs are a lot quicker than someone who's in a broad, like an entertainment niche. It's going to be a lot harder to define what exactly your audience needs and therefore what those product gaps are that you can fill. So second is to start with digital products. So physical products take a lot more research, they take a lot more financial investment, and they usually need a bigger audience to actually make a profit. There are so many opportunities for digital products in any niche, and there's usually little or no cost to get started. So you could sell things like templates, worksheets, a course, software, presets, lesson plans, music, an ebook, training, coaching, subscription, planning templates, checklists, digital art. Like almost every niche has something that could work as a digital product. So you just need to work out what that product is for your audience. So next, I think, don't be afraid to sell. So many creators are afraid of being salesy, but going back to my first point, if your product is about what your audience needs and not just about yourself, then you're offering value to your audience and you're doing them a disservice not to talk about your product. So this doesn't mean you need to include like a sales pitch in every video you do. In fact, the best way to sell a product is to use it yourself and show your audience how it can help them rather than tell them. But most of the sales of my digital products have come through using my products in my videos and just mentioning them regularly and naturally, not actually through like a formal sales pitch.
The next thing I like to do, and you probably already know this, is choose a color palette. So I'm going to use the color catalog too, because I know that in here I have a collection inspired by ocean life.
So fourth, don't be afraid to sell a product before you finish making it. So I'm talking about pre-orders. So especially with our physical products, we've found that taking pre-orders has given us a really good indication of the level of interest from our audience and the expected sales before we order the stock. So it acts as a bit of a safety net, it provides cash flow, and it allows us to take on the extra suggestions from our audience so that we're actually able to make improvements before we have the final product. It can also be highly motivating because you're including your audience in the process. So you've got thousands of people to keep you accountable to your goals and your deadlines. So my fifth tip is bundle, bundle, bundle. If you've got small items, or even if you do have bigger items, always look for how you can bundle them or how you can upsell them with add-ons, upsells, cross-sells. It's all worth looking at because people often will spend extra if you just give them the opportunity and make that suggestion for them and make it easy through your checkout system.
What do you think of YouTube's new feature where you can promote your own Shopify products below your videos?
I think it's a really good idea and I would love to explore it. Unfortunately, because I'm on WordPress, it's not accessible to me for my products yet. So I have to wait a little bit longer. I think if you're on Shopify and you're a YouTuber, I would definitely get that connected and have a go and see what it does. I think the downside will be that because people are staying on YouTube, you're not able to take them through your funnel on your website. If you have upsells, cross-sells, all those things that we sort of talked about briefly, they're more in YouTube's control than in your control. But at the same time, you're reducing the steps for customers to buy from you from a platform they're already on. And that's always a winning thing because once they've bought from you, they're now a customer, and that's a much smaller gap to bridge between a customer becoming a repeat customer than trying to get them to buy something from the first time. So lastly, think outside of YouTube. One downside to YouTube is that you don't actually own your audience. You don't get their emails and access to them is filtered by an algorithm. So think about setting yourself up a website and an email newsletter as soon as you can. These allow you to have much more control over what your potential customers see and how you communicate with them.
What about the fact that there is kind of an algorithm in email because a lot of the newsletters that I get and more promotional emails actually goes into my promotions folder in Gmail. So is it more about like having as much control as possible on top of the limited amount you have with the social platforms?
Yeah, I mean, in the way there is definitely, I guess, an algorithm, if you think of it in terms of open rates. There are definitely, like with any marketing, there are strategies to get more emails opened. And I think, like I've discovered, if you actually combine email marketing with something like YouTube, I know for me, since doing YouTube, my email marketing has gone from like a 20% open rate to a 49% open rate on my emails. So combining the two is actually like the gold mine.
Sarah, last question I gotta ask you as an American who hasn't traveled internationally that much, what is your advice on eating the famous Vegemite?
You need to have some toast, lots of butter, dime of Vegemite, spread it nice and thinly. Basically think of Vegemite as liquid salt and you'll get the portions right.
Sarah, thank you so much for the advice. I think it's going to be invaluable for a lot of creators to hear this. You've done incredibly well.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
All right, I got my toast here. Okay, it does not smell good, I have to be honest. All right, what'd she say, a dime? I think that's like a dime of it. I'm not an adventurous eater at all. Like when I do travel internationally, I'm not trying to get crazy with the food. So here we go. Oh wow. Very salty. Liquid salt was right. Like I just took a bite of ocean sand. I'm sure it's kind of an acquired taste, but I'm glad I didn't go for the spoonful of it. Hope you got some tips out of that conversation. I think my biggest takeaway is probably that it really does help to have a niche that lends itself to products, but I think even if you don't, there are some takeaways here, especially around all the ideas with digital products. Thanks to Sarah again for all the advice and time. She stayed up till 11 o'clock at night to record that from Australia, and hope it was helpful.